Everybody, this is Gunner. I'm Gunner. I am 10 years old. I am going to be attempting to do a series called Storytime with Gunner. So, this is just a little, I guess, trial episode. I don't know. I don't really know what to say.
Tell them about the book.
And this is the book I'm going to be reading. It's Little Miss Helpful. This is a book I've read over and over and over and over and over. Now it's a short book. It's good for the first installment. It's a very short book. So yeah. We're gonna do this. I hope I don't sound so nervous. Okay, so I try to put it in the camera. I don't.
Your angle might be better the other way. No. Your angle might be better that way.
Okay.
There you go.
Little Miss Helpful was one of those people who love to help other people, but who end up helping nobody. Do you know what I mean? I mean, for instance, like the time when one of Mr. Tall's shoelaces came undone. Now, if you're as tall as Mr. Tall, tying your shoelaces isn't the easiest thing in the world, as you can imagine. Let me help, cried Little Miss Helpful, rushing up. Then somehow, she managed to tie Mr. Tall's shoelaces together, and he fell over! And if you're as tall as Mr. Tall, and as you can tell he's pretty tall, falling over hurts. I honestly think it hurts no matter how tall you are, but whatever. Bang. Ouch, he said, rubbing his head. Let me help, cried Little Miss Helpful, and rushed off to get some sticking plaster. Sticking plaster. Are you serious? Sticking plaster? He just fell. He probably has a sprained ankle or something. He's gonna be fine. And then she rushed back and stuck it on Mr. Tall. Over his mouth! Instead of putting it on his legs where it needs to be, on his mouth. I don't really know how to caption that. I don't know. Okay, so basically he's just trying to say words. It's muffled. Something like that. He was trying to say take it off, but that's rather difficult to do with sticking plaster stuck over your mouth. Yeah, it sounds like that would be very true. Okay. Ow. Okay. Little Miss Helpful looked at him with concern. Let me help, she cried, and ripped the sticking plaster. Noting again, this is sticking plaster. It's basically medical tape. So, you know how much ripping off a bandage hurts? Imagine that, but times 100. That's how much it hurts to get sticking plaster ripped off your mouth. Anyways, let's continue with the story. Ouch! That hurt, he cried. Would you like me to get some cream for your sore mouth? She asked anxiously. No, he groaned. Go away. Now do you know what I mean about people like Little Miss Helpful who help nobody at all? Last year.
You show him the book.
Oh, sorry guys.
It's okay.
I'm so
It's your first video.
Okay. Last year in April, I think it was, Mr. Happy woke up feeling not very well. The doctor had to be called, and he came to Mr. Happy's house, which is on a hill by a lake. Oh dear, said the doctor when he saw Mr. Happy. Measles! Mr. Happy's face fell. Probably the only time you're ever gonna see him do that in these kinds of books. Well, you're not gonna see it, but yeah. Now you're to stay tucked up nice and warm in bed, and get lots of rest, and take this medicine 3 times a day, said the doctor, and went. Mr. Happy settled down to sleep. This book's a lot longer than I remember it being, but it's fine. Okay. He'd just fallen asleep when there was a loud knock at his front door. Oh dear, groaned Mr. Happy and staggered off to open it. You can guess who it was, can't you? Leave your guesses wherever you want to. I have really no point in that's what I want to. So anyway, guys, you can guess who it was, can't you? I've come to help, she cried, because you know who it was, and it's kind of obvious. But, protested Mr. Happy, but nothing. She don't care about getting sick. We should all care about getting sick. This is just the measles, which is bad enough. There's a coronavirus out there. That's even worse. Anyway, now off to bed with you while I get on with everything. She looked around. This place needs a good clean, she said. Anyway, Mr. Happy had just dropped off to sleep again when Miss Helpful poked her head around his bedroom door. Have you got a scrubbing brush? She asked. Poor Mr. Happy had to get up and show her where it was. And then he went back to bed. To sleep. Show her where it was? Well, I mean, this isn't shown in the illustration, but, like, imagine if it was in her hand the whole time. That would have been funny. Anyway, and then he went back to bed to sleep, right? Little Miss Helpful stepped back to admire the kitchen floor she just scrubbed, and trod on the soap, and fell head over heels, and got her head stuck in the bucket, and I literally have to pause after every and. I don't know why. There's a period after every single one of them. Because she couldn't see where she was going, walked into a shelf full of saucepans. Now, what are the odds of that actually happening? Very, very slim. Anyway, which fell all over the floor with a terrible clatter. And, again, because she couldn't see where she was going, Little Miss Helpful stepped in one of the and because she couldn't see where she was going, Little Miss Helpful stepped in one of the stuck on her foot. And because she had to hop, she flew over against the refrigerator door, which flew open and everything inside fell out. As you can clearly see in this illustration, there's a bunch of stuff in there. Like, this looks like Thanksgiving dinner. Like, anyway, which everything flew out, obviously, all over her. Poor Mr. Happy awoke with a jump at the terrible commotion. He groaned, got out of bed, went to the kitchen, and opened the door. Big mistake. He could not believe his eyes, as you can clearly tell from the illustration.
You don't have to respond. What are you doing?
Not responding.
Oh, okay.
He couldn't believe his eyes. There, in the middle of a pile of broken eggs, and a scrubbing brush, and rolling saucepans, and a lot of water. Stay hydrated, kids. And spilt milk, and squashed butter, and bent saucepan lids. Is this girl Superman or something? And a piece of soap. It has a piece of soap in there. Sat Little Miss Help, or as I put in the chat, Little Miss Not So Helpful. Anyway, wait, I have a viewer.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what?
Don't get nervous.
Okay. Help! Came a voice from inside the bucket. little Mr. Happy seized the bucket and pulled as hard as ever he could. And pulled. And pulled. The bucket came off the top of little Miss Helpful's head like a cork out of a bottle. Mr. Happy shot backwards like a bullet from a gun. Crash! He went flying through the kitchen door. Does this smell like an airplane now, or does this smell like an airplane now? Like, I'm confused. He shot across the garden and straight through his garden hedge. He rolled down the hilly field behind his garden, faster and faster, and splashed. He finished up in the lake with the bucket in his hand. And a little figure with a saucepan on one foot came half running, half hopping out of Mr. Happy's house. "Let me help," she cried. Well, this was enjoyable. It took me 10 minutes to read, but this was enjoyable. I don't know if I'm gonna make this a daily series or a weekly series. Like, I might do it once a week, might do it once a day. I don't really know. This was just a trial episode. And the book was Little Miss Helpful by Roger, what is that? Roger Hargreaves? By Roger Hargreaves, and it was a really good and really enjoyable book for me to read. It's right here. I have more of his collection, like a lot more, so if you want to see more of this, just let me know. So, anyways, guys, this was an enjoyable.
So what was the moral of the story?
And the moral of the story is, in my opinion, the moral of the story is, you don't have to help about everything. Like say somebody, I don't know, if somebody's, like, I don't know. I don't know what's a good example for this, but help where it's needed, I guess. Help where it's needed is what I was trying to say. So anyways, guys, I really enjoyed doing this, and, oh, my doggo was in the background. Sprinkles, get over it. And, my dog's in the background, so, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I guess I'll see you in the next one. Actually, should I read another book, or should I?
Go ahead, read another one.
Okay, I'm gonna read another book, because I don't know. This is a trial episode, and I have 3 viewers. And I'm nervous for some reason.
Get those nerves out.
Okay, next. It's about Kobe Bryant.
There you go.
So, I actually haven't read this yet. I got it yesterday, and I still haven't read it, so time to read it. Kobe Bryant, slam dunk champion. Kobe Bryant plays basketball. He is in the NBA.
¿No quiere leer en español?
I'm gonna do that. That's gonna be like a separate episode.
Okay. Great.
Kobe is on the was on the Los Angeles Lakers. He is number 8. Kobe can jump way up in the air, as you can tell. These pages are good and stuck together. Okay. Kobe can reach up over players. He jumps high to get to the basket. Sometimes Kobe uses 2 hands to dunk the ball. In 1997, Kobe played in an all-star game. It was a game for rookies. Kobe had a lot of fun. Kobe and number 6, Eddie Jones, talked whenever they played in games. Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe both play for the Lakers. I'd like to meet Kobe. They asked him to write his name for them. This book was incredibly short. Like, I lost the book, but I read something like this, and it was like, before I had more than one viewer, I read something like this, and it took me like 10 minutes, and then this took me like 80 minutes. I don't know. Anyways, I feel like I owed you guys for reading one last book. Oh, I love this book.
book so much.
Okay, I used to love this book as like a very little kid when I was like 3 or 4. Actually, like probably when I was 1 or 2, and I could actually read it. It's this Little 2. I basically forgot about this.
No, that's okay.
Sad moment.
Gunner, you
Sad
won't
moment.
always see all your viewers.
Oh really?
Yeah, this number doesn't really.
I'm new to this. If there's anybody else watching, I am very new to this. This is the first live stream I have ever done. Ever. So yeah. At the foot of an old wharf lives the cutest, silliest little tugboat you ever saw. His name is Little Toot, because blow hard as he would, the only sound from his whistle was a small toot, toot, toot. Toot, toot, toot. I don't know. Okay. But what he couldn't create in sound, Little Toot made up for in smoke. From his chubby smokestack, he'd send up a volley of smoke balls. That made Little Toot feel very important, and the flag at his masthead would dance like a tail of a puppy dog. Now the river where Little Toot lives is full of ships. They come from ports all over the world. So there is always work for tugboats to do, either pushing ships into the docks to be unloaded, or pulling them to the ocean to begin a new voyage. Just like every single tugboat ever wanted. So, for those of you who didn't know, or didn't already realize from the book, a tugboat's job is to, like, if a ship gets stuck, basically, like, in the dock. Yeah, I have some hurts. Okay. I don't even know. Okay. So for those of you who didn't know, a tugboat's job is basically if a ship's having trouble getting out of the dock, it'll either pull it or push it. That's its job. That's the only job it has. Anyways, back to the book. Well, that's the only job that I know of it has. I'm just going to go ahead and read this page again. Now, the river where Little Toot lives is full of ships. They come from ports all over the world, so there's always work for tugboats to do, either pushing ships into the docks to be unloaded or pulling them to the ocean to begin a new voyage. Oh my goodness gracious. Little Toot was right in the middle of it all. His father, Big Toot, is the biggest and fastest tugboat on the river, and as for Grandfather Toot, sounds funny, he is an old sea dog who tells of his mighty deeds on the river. I remember I used to read this, I actually really like the concept of, like, the tugboats being alive and being able to tell their story, which is really cool. Even though I don't think any of the tugboats tell their story in this book, but still, cool concept. But Little Toot hated work. Sounds like me. He was scared of the wild seas outside the channel. He had no desire to be tossed around or pull ships 50 times bigger than himself. He preferred the calm water of the river, where he could find plenty of fun, like gliding, for example, or playing thread the needle around the piers, or cutting figure eights. Little Toot loved making really big figure eights. Or, as I like to call them, figure infinities, because they're kind of both. Little Toot's antics annoyed the hard-working tugboats awfully. One day he made a figure eight so big it took up the whole river. I see a lot of river it hasn't taken up. Little Toot's antics annoyed the hard-working tugboats awfully. One day he made a figure eight so big it took up the whole river. There was no room at all for a big tug named J.G. McGillicuddy, who was bound downstream. He had little love for other tugboats, and a frivolous one like Little Toot made him mad. The other tugboats saw what happened, and they made fun of him, saying he only knew how to play. Poor Little Toot. He was ashamed and angry, but there was nothing he could do about it except blow those silly smoke balls. Okay. That page just stuck together. I don't know why it's happening so much. Little Toot hid alongside the wharf and sulked. Then he saw a great ocean liner headed down the river. Pulling it were 4 tugboats with his own father, Big Two, right up in front. Oh my goodness gracious, what are these names? All of a sudden, a great idea burst over him. He wouldn't be a silly, frivolous little tugboat anymore. He would work like the best of them. He would make Big Two proud of him, full of ambition. Yeah, this isn't gonna end well. Little Toot started downstream. I haven't read this book in like 7 or 8 years, so I don't know what happened anymore. He sidled. How the heck am I supposed to? He sidled hopefully up to one big ship after another, tooting for them to heave it to line, but they supposed he was still only a nuisance and would have nothing to do with him. This was too much for Little Toot. Little Toot wasn't wanted anywhere or by anyone. Sounds like me in school. He was so lonesome. Floating aimlessly downstream, he grew sadder and sadder. He didn't even notice the sky had grown dark and the wind was whipping up into a real storm. I mean, granted, you can barely tell if there's only like way darker water and gigantic cloud. Anyway, suddenly he had heard a sound that was like no sound he had ever heard before. It was the ocean. And the noise came from the waves as they dashed and pounded against the rocks. But that wasn't all. Against the black sky came a brilliant, flaming rocket. A rocket. When Little Toot looked hard, he saw a jam between 2 huge rocks, an ocean liner. What a terrible thing to see. What is this, Titanic version 2? I'm not even trying to make fun of this, and I'm probably ruining my own stream for myself. No. Yeah. Anyway. Little Toot went wild with excitement. He began puffing those silly balls of smoke out of his smokestack. And then a wonderful thought struck him. Why, those smoke balls could probably be seen way up the river where his father and grandfather were. So he popped a signal. SOS, SOS, SOS. That's a lot of SOSs. Anyway. Way up the river, they saw it. Of course, they had no idea who was making the signals, but they knew it meant come quickly, so they all raced to the rescue. Goodness gracious, that's a lot of tugboats. Just in time, too, because Little Toot, still puffing out his SOS, was hard put to stay afloat. One wave spun him around. Another tossed him up high. Out of the corner of his eye, when he was hung on a wave, Little Toot saw the fleet wasn't able to make headway over such fierce seas. Little Toot was scared green, but something had to be done. The fleet was on the verge of going up when suddenly, above the storm, they heard a familiar toot. It was Little Toot, not wasting his strength butting the waves as they had done, but bouncing from crest to crest like a rubber ball. The pounding hurt like everything, but Little Toot kept right on going. Hey, that sounds like it would be fun. Obviously, it sounds like it would hurt a lot, but it sounds like it would be fun. Looking through his binoculars, Big Toot saw the great vessel throw a line to Little Toot. When the line was made fast, Little Toot waited for a long moment, and then when a huge wave swept under the liner, lifting it clear of the rods, Little Toot pulled with all his might. The liner came free. Epic. Okay. The people on board began to cheer, and the whole tugboat fleet insisted on Little Toot's escorting the great boat back into the harbor. Little Toot was a hero, and Grandfather Toot blasted the news all over the world. Well, after that, Little Toot became quite a different fella. He even changed his tune. And it is said that he can haul as big a load as his father can. That is when Big Toot hasn't a very big load to haul. But I've been streaming for like 30 minutes recording books, which is fine by me. I enjoy reading. And if there's anybody still watching, which there probably is, this is just the first episode. I might do this. I might make this like a weekly or daily series or something. I don't know.
Boost your confidence.
So anyways, guys, I'm really excited to be able to make this series more, and I'm gonna be really excited to make this a weekly series, most likely weekly or daily or something. I might notice it's just a lot. But anyway, I guess I'll see you guys in the next one.
Ready?
I don't know. So anyways, guys, I'm excited to be able to do this. I'm excited that I get to, I'm excited that I get to be able to do this for children and adults.
By children.
But made for children by a child. Not children. Not by a children. Goodness gracious. So I don't know. I might read one last book.
You want to read another one? Go ahead.
I want to make this like at least 30 minutes long. Like,
we'll read another one. Anyone. Which one are you looking for? About what?
The hen. I know, I have it somewhere.
Oh, the hen?
Okay, so while we look for a classic timeless book, well, it's a classic timeless book for a lot of people. Well, for not that many people, actually, because not that many people even are aware of its existence nowadays. So, we're gonna be right back.
You gonna check the books by the door?
Yeah. So basically,
I got this? No?
no. We're still looking for a book. Oh, I see.
You found it?
Yep.
There you go.
This is gonna
In
be...
English?
Oh, I like 99.
Did you find it in English?
Well, I know we have a Spanish copy of it. This is the English copy. And then once I find a Spanish copy and actually learn Spanish better, I'm probably going to do the Spanish copy as well. But here's the last book I'm probably going to be reading. I might read another one. I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun. The book is this.
The Little Red Hen. Passover.
And the Passover matzah. And then on the back, there's just a gigantic matzah. Anyways, this book is one of my personal favorites. Even though I've had it since I was like 3. It's been one of my personal favorites for it's been one of my favorite books for a very, very long time. Ooh, and in this book, it says, the greatest wisdom of all is kindness. Which is true. Sometimes. Most of the time. Oh, okay. The year was passing. The little red hen could feel the change of the seasons in the tips of her tail feathers. She could smell it in the barnyard air. She could see it on her calendar. Obviously. Oi, Javol. What? Oi, Javol, exclaimed the little red hen, thinking ahead to spring. Before I know it, it will be time for Passover. I will need some matzah for my Seder dinner, and that begins with some grains of wheat. So some grains of wheat, eh? Okay. In a corner of the chicken coop, the little red hen kept a small pile of grains safe from wind and water. She gathered them now and went to find her friends. Such friends she had. Such friends she had. Always ready to lend a hand. Who will help me plant these grains? He asked them. Not I, said sheep. Sorry, bub, said horse. Think again, said dog, a little bit rudely. That's kind of doggy. The little red hen was not happy. Okay, she grumbled. I should worry? I'll understand it myself. And the little red hen planted those grains. Months passed. The sun shone, the rain fell, and the grain grew tall. The little red hen waited patiently. Finally, there was a field of wheat ready to be harvested. The little red hen went to find her friends. This time, she was sure they led the hen. She hasn't learned anything. So, we got the wheat, she asked. Not I. Sorry, Bub. Think again, said Dog. Well, they basically said the exact same thing. So, when your friends, not your servants. The little red hen was definitely not happy. I wouldn't be happy either. Wow, that's kind of rude. By kind of rude, I mean very rude. The little red hen was definitely not happy. French cement, she muttered. I'll just do it myself. And the little red hen cut the wheat. The wheat was ready for the mill. The little red hen gathered it together and went to find her friends. They won't disappoint me again. Are you sure about that? Who will help me carry this wheat to the mill? She asked them. Not I, said sheep. Sorry, Bub, said horse. Think again, said dog. Again, a little bit rudely. Interesting. The little red hen was really not happy this time. I should live so long, she kvetched. Kvetched? That's a weird word. Could be a spelling error? I don't know. I should live so long, she kvetched, to see this bunch of lazy no goodniks put in an honest day's work. I'll just do it myself. Kvetched, okay. Never mind. I think it's just spelling error.
No, I think it's cultural.
Anyway, guys, I'm confused.
It's a cultural word.
I have no idea. The little red hen took the wheat to a special Passover mill where a miller ground it into flour. Can we just note the miller is a cow? That's standing on two legs? And 99% of the animals in this book, their postures make sense. The chicken's posture makes sense. All the other animals in this book postures make sense. This cow, first of all, being able to run a mill without opposable thumbs, second of all, standing on two legs, are both creepy things. The little red hen took the wheat to a special Passover mill where a miller ground it into flour. Then she swept that flour back home in a big heavy sack, clucking to herself all the way. Before she knew it, it was spring, the morning of the first night of Passover. The little red hen had cleaned her house top to bottom. There wasn't a crown of bread to be found anywhere. Time to make the matzah, the little red hen sent out to her friend. Who wants to help? Everyone deserves a second or fourth chance, she reminded herself. But what do you think the little red hen heard? The same thing as she did. Not I, said sheep. Sorry, Bub, said horse. Ha ha, laughed dog, more than a little bit rudely. A lot more than a little bit rudely. Think again. The little red hen was not happy. Again. She was not surprised, either. Well, I mean, you wouldn't be after. They literally refused to help you 4 times. Okay, she said. So I should start? I'll just make it myself. The little red hen washed up carefully. She put a big bowl on the kitchen table. Then she set her to it. According to Jewish law, Passover matzah had to be finished in just 18 minutes? Well, granted, you don't have to let the bread set and rise, so that's not bad. The little red hen mixed the flour and water quickly. She kneaded it quickly. I might not do that every time because I know I'm pronouncing quickly wrong. She rolled it out nice and flat. Quickly. She pricked it all over. Prickly. Except this time it says prickly instead of quickly, so that's interesting. She put it into the oven to bake. Ding! The matzah was ready just in time. And the little red hen prepared the Seder dinner. She boiled eggs, simmered soup, and mixed gefilte fish. She washed parsley, chopped apples and nuts, and served batter for a cake. Also, I know I'm probably butchering that name. The gefilte fish? I'm Probably butchering that. So if anybody knows the correct pronunciation, just don't call me on it. She washed parsley, chopped apples and nuts, and stirred batter for a cake. Finally, she set the table, putting a beautiful Passover Haggadah at each place and an extra chair for Elijah the prophet. Should he come, God willing. She finished with a covered plate of homemade matzah. The little red hen sat in a chair and waited. When the sun began to set in the evening sky, there was a knock at the door. Guess who was standing there? Guess! I mean, if you haven't been watching the stream, you wouldn't know, but it's her friends. I can't do that, you know what?
Yeah.
Okay, she did it. I can do that fine. We're famished, they told the little red hen. What's for dinner? No. You've got to be kidding, scolded the little red hen. What chutzpah? You didn't help me plant the grains when I asked you. You didn't help me harvest the wheat or carry it to the mill. Or take it back home again. You didn't even help me bake the matzah. So tell me, why should I share my cedar? Why should I share my cedar with the likes of you? Good question. Chief, horse, and dog couldn't think of a thing to say. The little red hen was right. They hadn't been really good friends. The three animals silently hung their heads in shame. The little red hen was quiet. Dude, now I should invite them to my cedar, she thought. Then she remembered the words written on the Passover Haggadah. Let all who are hungry come and eat. She looked at her friends. They looked hungry. Well, it's not that hard to look hungry. Like, I'm hungry right now, but I'm not showing it. Anyway, the little red hen... anyways. She looked at her friends. They looked hungry. Besides, I keep saying the little red hen. The little red hen was a good egg. A mensch forgives. And why are you just standing there? She said finally. Come on in! Probably not what I would have done, but that's definitely what you're supposed to do, so get on my part. So together, the friends celebrated the holiday, and together they noshed on tasty, crunchy matzah. And when the cedar was over, is that wine? Hold on. Is that supposed to be wine? Like, I know in the Passover festival it's representing the blood of Jesus Christ, but that's wine. That's not okay. It's a children's book. You could have made it like apple juice or something. Or fruit punch or cranberry juice or something.
It's part of the Passover story.
I know that. I know. I'm just being totally honest. And when the cedar was over, after all the planting and the harvesting, the schlepping and the cleaning, and the baking and the feasting, just who do you think had to wash all those dishes? If they don't help her, I'm gonna be very mad. Not I, said the little red hen. You know, she deserves that, honestly. About Passover. For 8 days every spring, Jewish people around the world celebrate the holiday of Passover, the festival of freedom. On the first 2 nights, family and friends gather for a special holiday dinner called a seder. Before the meal, they read together from Passover books called Haggadah. They sing and pray and tell an ancient story. More than 3,000 years ago, the Jewish people were slaves in the land of Egypt, forced to do the bidding of cruel pharaohs. The Jews longed for the day when they would be free. God finally answered their prayers. I probably should not have said it like that. But God finally answered their prayers by sending them a man named Moses. You must go to Pharaoh, God told Moses, and say, let my people go. Moses did so, but Pharaoh did not listen. So God punished the Egyptians with 10 plagues, each one worse than the one before. Pharaoh finally agreed to free the Jews. Afraid that he might change his mind, which he did, the Jews left immediately, not even waiting for their bread to rise. This is why matzah exists. That is why hard, flat matzah is eaten during Passover to remember and celebrate the journey from bitter slavery and joyous freedom. Other ceremonial foods are eaten too. At the end of the meal, the door is open for the prophet Elijah, who the Jewish people believe will arrive one day to announce the time of peace for everyone on earth. And Passover is a holiday I've never celebrated. Yeah, we should probably do that. Anyway, also, if you're wondering who I'm talking to, it's... Just move the chair.
No.
No, I'm not camera ready. Nope. Nope. Maybe next time.
You're fine.
No, I look like I stuck my finger in a socket. Go ahead, come on.
No.
This is about you.
Anyways, guys, I am talking to my mom. She's over here. You can see her arms in the camera, which looks fine. So. And now she's in the camera. Say hi.
Hi.
You don't have to say hi in the camera. So. Okay, anyway. And then there's a recipe on how to make matzah. I'm just going to put it, like, right here. And if you want to make, like, screenshot that and make some matzah, you can. Anyways, guys, I was gonna say that's gonna be it, then I saw another good book. I've read like 5 different books. This is gonna be an hour-long trial episode. By the way, probably not every episode's gonna be this long, but it's a trial episode. I'm trying to figure out what I like. Corduroy. Yeah.
¿En español o en inglés?
I don't know. English.
Ah, good job.
Anyway, I'm trying to figure out. I don't think this is the starting page. Oh, there it is. So, this is a children's book for like first and second graders. Corduroy is a bear who once lived in the toy department of a big store, also known as the mall. Day after day, he waited with all the other animals and dolls for somebody to come along and take him home. The whole concept of dolls being alive is creepy, but Corduroy takes it and makes it not creepy and fun. The store was always filled with shoppers buying all sorts of things, but no one ever seemed to want a small bear in green overalls. Then one morning, a little girl stopped and looked straight into Corduroy's bright eyes. "Oh, Mommy," she said, "look, there's the very bear I've always wanted." "Not today, dear," her mother sighed. "I've spent too much already. Besides, he doesn't look new. He's lost a button on one of his shoulder straps." Corduroy watched them sadly as they walked away. That actually is that's sad. Like, there are some books where you're just like, move on, at the sad parts. But in this book, I actually feel bad for him. "I didn't know I had lost a button," he said to himself. "Tonight I'll go and see if I can find it." Late that evening, when all the shoppers had gone and the doors were shut and locked, Corduroy climbed carefully down from his shelf and began searching everywhere on the floor for his lost button. You know, you'd think if it was anywhere, it would be on the display shelf, but no, it's on the floor. Apparently, I don't really understand that, but okay. Anyways. Suddenly he felt the floor moving under him. Quite by accident, he had stepped up onto an escalator. Could this be a mountain? He wondered. I think I've always wanted to climb a mountain. I think that's something you would know. Interesting. He stepped off the escalator as it reached the next floor. And then before his eyes was a most amazing sight. Tables and chairs and lamps and sofas and rows of beds. Oh my! This must be a palace. What is this freaking? Is this? I think this is like basically Mattress Firm. This must be a palace, Corduroy gasped. I guess I've always wanted to live in a palace. He doesn't know what he wants, and it's kind of sad. It's really sad. Anyway, he yanked and pulled with both paws until pop off came the button, and off the mattress Corduroy toppled, bang into a tall floor of it. Over it fell with a crash. Corduroy didn't know it, but there was someone else awake in the store. The night watchman was going his rounds on the floor above. When he heard the crash, he came dashing down the escalator. How do you dash down an escalator? Well, I know how, but it's kind of dangerous. So I recommend not doing it. Now, who in the world did that? Somebody must be hiding the road here. He flashed his light under and over sofas until he came to the biggest bed of all. And there he saw two fuzzy brown ears sticking up from under the cover. Hello, he said. Hello, Mike, he said. How did you get upstairs? Doing it in a British accent because this guy looks like a British police guard. I'm not trying to be racist.
Just don't rest your hand on your computer.
It's not on my computer. It's on my...
You might click something and stop your video. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, anyways, guys. The watchman chucked Corduroy under his arm and carried him down the escalator and set him on the shelf in the toy department with the other animals and dolls.
Speak clearly.
Corduroy was just waking up when the first customers came into the store in the morning. And there, looking at him with a wide, warm smile, was the same little girl he'd seen only the day before. Interesting. So she said, and you're going to be my very own bear. Doing a favorite British accent, which sounds terrible. Last night I counted what I saved in my piggy bank, and my mother said I could bring you home. Shall I put them in a box for you? The sales lady asked. Oh no, thank you, Lisa answered, and she carried Corduroy home in her arms. She ran all the way up 4 flights of stairs into her family's apartment and straight to her own room. Corduroy blinked. There was a chair and a chest of drawers, and alongside a girl-sized bed stood a little bed that was just the right size for him. The room was small, nothing like that enormous palace at a department store. This must be home, he said. I know I've always wanted a home. Lisa sat down with Corduroy on her lap and began to sew a button on his overalls. I like you the way you are, she said, but you're more comfortable with your shoulder strap fastened. You must be a friend, said Corduroy. I've always wanted a friend. Me too, said Lisa, and gave him a great big hug. So guys, that's gonna be it for the trial episode of. This is gonna be it for the. This is gonna be it for the trial episode of Storytime with Gunner. This is probably, I'd say it's gonna be a weekly instead of a daily series. Haven't decided yet, so I don't really know, guys. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one.